Welcome back, students of class 10, your history class, continuing with the national movement of 1919 to 1934. Today we will start with the factors which led to the civil disobedience movement. The circumstances leading to the civil disobedience movement were as follows. Number 1, reaction against the Simon Commission and anger born out of death of Lala Lajpat Rai. Now, the 7 members of the Simon Commission were all British. All British were there. We have learnt about Simon Commission in our previous class. Moreover, Commission's recommendation was that the Viceroy's Executive Council could not be made responsible for central legislature, and fatal blow inflicted on Lala Lajpat Rai filled the whole nation in great anger. Two things. One, anything happening to the Legislative Council, the Viceroy's Executive Council will not be blamed. Number 1. And Lala Lajpat Rai, while he was protesting against Simon Commission, there was a lathi charge and he was injured and he ultimately passed away. Okay. Now, civil disobedience movement and the demand for Purna Swaraj owed much to this emotional trouble. It was a very emotional trouble, because Lala Lajpat Rai was a highly respected leader, and his death, it made people very emotional, and the fire inside them was enraged. The Nehru report is the second cause. Now, the Nehru report had declared that India's immediate objective should be the attainment of dominion status. What did Nehru report say? Nehru report said that immediate objective of India should be dominion status. A dominion meant a self-governing country which was a part of the British Commonwealth. Okay. Canada was an instance of a nation having dominion status. The Congress at its Kolkata session resolved to launch a campaign of non-cooperation, including non-payment of taxes, if the Nehru report was accepted by 31st December 1929. Number 3. The Viceroy's Declaration of October 1929. On October 31st, 1929, the Viceroy Lord Irwin made a declaration that the natural issue of India's constitutional progress is the attainment of dominion status. Naturally, the progress of constitution, ultimate result of the constitutional progress will be attaining dominion status. The Indian leaders felt happy at the Viceroy's thoughtful gesture, but very soon they were disappointed. The British Parliament was in no mood to grant dominion status. Obviously, they said a lot of things, but they did nothing. Gandhi and other leaders met the Viceroy on 23rd December 1929. Number 4 was Lahore session and the demand for Purna Swaraj, that is complete independence. Congress leaders wanted a firm assurance as to granting a dominion status to India. Instead of giving any definite assurance, the Viceroy had only announced that a roundtable conference of all the parties will be held in London to discuss the recommendations of Simon Commission. So what happened was, at the Lahore session, which was presided over Jawaharlal Nehru in 1929, the Congress passed a resolution boycotting the roundtable conference which the Britishers invited the Indians. It declared Purna Swaraj or complete independence as its goal and took step to launch a program of civil disobedience. Purna Swaraj Day was celebrated all over India on 26 January 1930. Remember the incidents. Now came Gandhiji's 11 demands. On 30th January 1930, Mahatma Gandhi, in a statement, put forward 11 demands to correct the wrongs done to Indians. Some of the demands were as follows: total prohibition and reduction of land revenue, abolition of salt tax. Gandhi assured Viceroy that they would withdraw the civil disobedience on government's acceptance of these demands. Gandhi's demands were declared unrealistic by the Viceroy. So obviously, there have to be a civil disobedience movement. Now, the civil disobedience movement of 1930. First is the Dandi March. On 2nd March 1930, Gandhi wrote a long letter to the Viceroy communicating his decision to start a civil disobedience movement. To start, he gave a letter to the Viceroy, a long letter that a civil disobedience movement will start on 2nd March. On 12th March, Mahatma began his historic march from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi, a village on the Gujarat sea coast. 78 persons followed him, but as Gandhi advanced, others joined the party. He reached the Dandi on 5th April. So he started on 12th March, he reached on 5th April, and on the morning of 6th April, Gandhi violated the salt laws by picking up some salt left by the sea waves. Gandhi's campaign against the salt laws was a signal to disobey the government laws. It was a sign, it was a gesture that I will not be following your laws, disobey your laws. Now, what was the program of the civil disobedience movement? Civil disobedience movement or campaign involved, number one, defiance of salt laws. They will not follow the salt laws. Number two, boycott of liquor. Number three, boycott of foreign cloth and British goods of all kinds. Civil disobedience movement was different from the non-cooperation movement in a way that it also involved civil disobedience movement also involved non-payment of taxes and land revenues and violations of laws of different kinds. So it was different from non-cooperation in these factors. Now, how did this movement progress? The progress or course of the movement. Gandhi's march from village to village, covering a distance of nearly 200 miles, attracted serious attention of the people. So Gandhiji started spreading this message. Nearly 200 miles he is covering, so it attracted a lot of people. Gandhi had selected mainly salt laws as his target, knowing fully well that salt tax affected all sections of the society, especially the poor. Illegal manufacture of salt and violation of other laws took place on a grand scale. In UP, Gujarat and Bengal, the farmers refused to pay the land revenue. In Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, people began to cut down timber in defiance of the forest laws. In North and West provinces, West Frontier province, Abdul Ghaffar Khan, also known as the Frontier Gandhi, had organized a volunteer brigade known as Khudai Khidmatgars, that means the servant of God. They were also known as the Red Shirts. They started a fierce anti-government movement in various ways, including non-payment of taxes. Moreover, thousands of women picketed, that means sat in front of the shops selling foreign cloth and liquor. Gandhi was arrested on 4th May 1930. Jawaharlal Nehru, Madan Mohan Malaviya, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan and other prominent leaders had already been arrested. Obviously, the government came down with very strong measures, tried to, stop the movement, that is known as the repressive measures. The government used all kinds of repressive measures to break the nationalist movement. According to official figures, more than 60,000 people were put behind the prison bars. The Satyagrahis were brutally assaulted. They got lathi blows on head, chest, stomach, and joints. An English lady by the name of Miss M. Slade told that she saw a wounded person being thrown into salt water. So you know the type of torture the Britishers did to the Indians. So if you go deep into Indian history, you will find so many bloodshed, so many torture, after so many, hard toil, torture, murder, hanging of people, we have got our precious independence. So, lot of people have lost their life, lot of people have shed their blood, lost their family. After that, we have attained our independence. So sometimes when I teach these chapters, like national movement, war of independence and all, so sometimes these things flash in front of my eyes. Anyway, so this is all for today. Thank you for joining in.